Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today on the channel we'll be making a wrap gown. Okay, so I have about 2 meters or 2 yards of this fabric for this, and I'm working with a crepe fabric for this tutorial. All right, so you can decide to use whatever material you deem fits. All right, to make this out. Okay, just make sure you use something that works for you. Okay, so what I'm trying to do now is to cut out my back piece. Okay, I'm going to cut it out. I'll be cutting out the back first and then using it as a template. Okay, so I'm cutting it out with my hip circumference plus an extra 2 inches allowance. Okay, and I'm working with a full length of 38 inches. Okay, if you want to make this longer for yourself, you can decide to you will need to use more fabric. Okay, if you want this to be longer. All right, so I'm just cutting that out. Okay, I'm just going to cut it out. Okay, I made the mark there. It's going to serve as my template for cutting this out. Okay, so I'll just go ahead to cut this out. All right, like I said, I'm cutting out the back piece because we are going to be cutting out the back first and then using it as a template to cut out the front piece. Okay, so I have my back piece already. I'm going to start putting in my vertical measurements. All right, so you need to have your measurements ready while doing this. All right, so the first thing I'm going to mark out is my bust point, which is 10 inches. I went ahead to mark that out. The next is my waist point. Okay, which is my waist point, my half length. Okay, which is about 15 inches. All right, I marked that out. The next thing is my hip point, which is 22 inches. All right, so I went ahead to mark it out. All right, so I'm just going to rule a line across. Okay, so that it will help me while I'm working on this. Okay, to give me accurate measurements. Okay, I will advise you do this also. All right, it's going to actually help. So the next thing I want to mark is my neckline. Okay, so I'm using neck width, sorry, of 3 inches. Okay, then I'm going to use a neck depth of 1.5 inches. Like I said, is the back part of our material. We don't need our neck to be too deep. Okay, it's a wrap gown. The front will already have like a very big opening. You don't want the back of your neck to also have that. It's going to look awkward, right? So I went ahead to make a simple C cup. The next thing I want to mark is my shoulder. My shoulder is 15 inches divided by 2. Okay, so I'm just going to mark that out. Okay, you notice the back piece is actually closed, more like I'm taking my measurements from the closed end. Okay, so you want to take notice of all these things. Okay, so I went ahead to come down from the shoulder point by half an inch. Okay, that's going to serve as my shoulder slant. The next thing I want to get is my armhole length. Okay, so to get this, okay, I divided my round bust by 6 and then added 1.5. So go ahead and do that to yours. Okay, then I'm just extending a line down. Okay, just making a line. Like I said, you want to make lines across so that it's more like a template for while you're working. All right, so you don't make mistake. So I'm going to bring this line down. Now the line I'm bringing down is starting from the shoulder slant. Okay, so I went ahead to make my shoulder slant line visible. Okay, I didn't do this initially, so I went ahead to do that. All right, so the next thing I want to get is my armhole curve. Okay, to do this, I divided my bust point by 4, like my round bust by 4, sorry. Then I made a simple curve into the armhole. All right. So then after doing that, I added 1.5 inches, which is my stitching allowance. Okay. This would be like the template for this using 1.5 inches. On the bust line, I went ahead to do the same thing, marked my bust, round bust divided by 4, that's 1.5 inches. On the waistline, I did the same thing, but the waistline had a little bit of difference. My round waist is 29 inches. Okay, that will be 7.5 divided by 4. All right, I will have 7.5 when I divide that by 4. But I decided to mark 8 inches because I wanted this to be a little bit free, and then I marked my allowance. All right, then for the hip point, I did the same thing, my round hip by 4, then I added 1.5 inches for stitching allowance. Okay, so I'm just going to connect this out. Okay, this is our back piece. All right, so we're just going to use our back to get the front. Okay, Now, if after marking this you don't get the same curve like myself, okay, you can see mine wasn't so curvy. Okay, so if you don't get this, it doesn't mean you're on the wrong side. Okay, it simply means we have different body measurements. Okay, so this is what it looks like after I finished. I'm just going to cut this out on the white lines. Okay, this is why I said it's good for you to draw out your lines by taking your marks. Okay, the vertical meets the horizontal at a point. Okay, they have the intercept at a point, so you want to mark that out so you will not get confused while doing this. All right, so I have my front piece folded. Okay, so I'm just measuring out the distance I have now. Okay, before the white lines I have about 4 inches. All right, it's going to serve as my wrap cover, so to say. Okay, so if you want this to be more for you, you can decide to use 4.5 to 5 inches. Okay, it's going to give you more covering. Okay, and if you want this to be more open, okay, for those people that like spicy clothes, okay, want to look extra spicy, you can decide to use 3 inches to 3.5. Okay, this should not be too much. Okay, so I'm just placing this to be exactly on that line. Okay, my fabric moves a lot. I'm working with a crepe fabric. Okay, so I have it where I need it exactly. I'm just going to pin this down. Okay, the next thing I would do is to extend my waistline. Okay, I'm just going to extend it to the other part of the fabric. Okay, so I just extended it, and then at the neck point for the back I made the mark there, and then I'm going to make a line from the waist to meet that point. This is going to serve as the front neckline. Remember I said the front will be open, so we don't need our back to be deep. Okay, so I'm just going to make the line from there, from the waist point down to the neck. All right, so this is what we have after I did that. All right, so it's more like one of the major things to in front. Okay, after we finish, this is just it. All right, so I'm going to cut this out exactly the way you have at the back, apart from the front piece. Okay, now, please, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe, turn on the notification bell so you'll be notified whenever I post a new video. And don't forget to like, comment, okay? And if you're a returning subscriber, sorry, thank you. Okay, you're the reason why I'm here. Okay, you're special, and I appreciate you for coming back. Okay, don't forget to always come back. I promise to um drop tutorials every week. Okay, exciting tutorials. And if you have a suggestion like a video you want me to do, you can decide to drop it out. Okay, drop it at the comment section. Okay, and then I'll get back to you on that. All right, thank you. So I'm just cutting this out. Like I said, I'm cutting this out exactly as I have in front. Now cutting it out. Okay, so I decided to do something else for the front. Okay, decided to give the front piece a little bit curve. Okay, so I'm using my hip curve for this. Okay, so I'm just making a curve. If you don't have your free hip curve, sorry, you can go ahead to use a free hand for this. Okay, at some point while doing this I actually used my free hand. Okay, because the I was doing this on the floor and it was a bit stressful for me. Okay, so I had to, at the point, I had to use my free hand to make my curve. All right, so this is what I had. And at the end of the day, while cutting this out, I didn't follow it exactly. All right, so you can decide to use your hip curve, whatever feels comfortable. You know, I'm actually a pioneer for whatever works for you. So, whatever works for you, okay? So, this is what I have at the end of the day. You can see is looking all nice already. Okay, has the wrap effect, and you can see the curve in front. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is to join my shoulders together. Okay, now if you're working with a fabric like mine that's hard to detect the front from the back, you want to like make markings in front so you not be confused. All right, so what I'm going to do next is just to stitch down the shoulders of this. All right, so after doing that, I went ahead to cut out my sleeve. I'm using this piece. Okay, like I said earlier in this video, I'm working with 2 yards of fabric. So this is a little piece I had for my sleeve. Okay, so the line at the top is just my starting point. Okay, I went ahead to mark out my elbow point. Okay, I'm working with a full length of 17. I wanted this to be a little bit long. Okay, I'm always working on with short sleeves, so I decided to make this a bit longer. Okay, so I came down for my sleeve curve by 4 inches. Okay, so if you've seen the tutorial on how to mark out a sleeve, you will not be confused. But if you've not tried to check that out, okay, I'm going to try to explain this a little bit. Okay, so what I just marked out now is my round um armhole measurement divided by 2, okay, which is 8. Okay, so I marked that out. Okay, and from there I made a slant to that end. So I'm going to take the midpoint of the slant I made. Okay, so I had about 4.5 after I finished. So I'm just going up by 1/4 inch. Okay, for my sorry, my sleeve curve. Okay, then I'm coming down by same 1/4 inch. Okay, so you want to check out the video on it, okay, on how to cut out a basic sleeve, because that's just what I'm doing here. Okay, so at the end of my this thing I did the same thing. All right, then I'm adding about 1.5 inches, okay, to it. It's going to be my allowance. Now remember, for the fabric, like the main cloth, we use the 1.5 inches, so I'm just doing that too for this. Okay, because I want this to correspond. All right, so go ahead to do that. Like I said, if you've not seen the video of how to draft the basic sleeves on my channel, please check it out. Okay, I promise you it will not be a waste of time, and it will give a better understanding of how to do this. Okay, so I'm just going to cut this out. Okay, finished everything I need for this. Remember, I said I'm doing a basic sleeve, so I'll not be adding anything extra to this. Okay, so I'm just going to cut this out from the white lines. Okay, I'm always saying from the white lines, so just cut this out. Okay, actually, while making this, okay, getting this fabric was quite stressful. It was. Okay, so this is my sleeve. Just going to hem the down by folding it by 1/2 inch and folding it again. Okay, I'm going to do it for both pieces. Okay, then after doing that, I will introduce my fabric. Okay, then I'll get the midpoint of my fabric. All right, so I'm gonna have to join the shoulders. You can see from this. Okay, I didn't show this after I did it. Okay, but you can see I've joined it. So I'll get the midpoint of my sleeve, attach it to the joining part of my shoulders, join it together, and then stitch it by the side by 1/2 inch. All right, so this is what it looks like after I did that. Sorry, I couldn't iron this out. There was no light while I was doing this, and I went ahead to leave about 1 inch for my rope to pass. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is to hem the cloth round. Okay, you can decide to fold this in by 1/2 inch and fold again and do this all round. Okay, from the neckline down to the down part of it. Okay, but I decided to do something else. Okay, I'm using the bias. I'm actually using a black bias, so different. The color is different. Okay, usually why piping is usually I usually do from outside to inside, but for this I decided to do from outside to inside to outside. So I decided to do from inside to outside. I'm sorry about that. Okay, so this is what we have. Okay, that's the outside. This is what it looks like. Okay, so this is the front. All right, it looks nice already. Okay, so the next one to do is to get our ropes. Okay, like I said, is a wrap gown, so we need something to tie it down. Okay, I went ahead to cut out this piece. It measures about 3 inches in width, and for the length of this, I actually did cut out a very long piece. For the length, it's actually about 1 yard and 15 inches. Okay, this is what I had. So you can decide to do yours to be shorter, or you can decide to do yours to be longer. I think doing it extra longer will be an issue though, so maybe shorter or same length as mine. Okay, so I'll just fold this into two, stitch it down, and then stitch the top part. Okay, then I'll leave a little part where I can turn this out. Okay, so I have my ropes like this. Like I said, it was quite long, so next I want to do is to attach my rope to my fabric. Okay, so I'll just place it at the end point of my neckline. Okay, fold it in and stitch it down. Okay, watch this again. Right, place it like this, fold it in. Okay, and then stitch down. All right, this is what it will look like by the time you do that. Okay, so this is the final product of our gown. You can see how it turned out looking nice. Now see the black bias I added around. Okay, It looks all nice and it's looking all pretty. Okay, let me know what you think about this in the comment section. Thank you for watching and see you next time.